Ursula von der Leyen is in shock as the European Parliament delivers a stunning betrayal from within. A massive, shadowy empire has just been uncovered right in the heart of Europe, operating on a scale that defies belief. In Germany, a quiet tragedy is unfolding. 1,000 people have simply vanished into thin air, and the one man who tried to speak the truth has been punished for it. President Macron finds himself standing alone, his grand plans rejected by both Donald Trump and his own neighbors. And speaking of Trump, he's back, calling himself a dictator and laying claim to an entire island. But the biggest story? The face of global power has officially changed. Klaus Schwab is out, and a new figure has taken the throne to control your money. You'll want to stick around for the end, because that shift impacts every single one of us. Friends, before we unravel these threads, I have to ask you for something. We are doing the work here that the mainstream giants refuse to do. We dig for facts, we verify, and we refuse to feed you the comfortable lies. It is exhausting, often thankless work, and frankly, the algorithms don't like it. If you value this honesty, please like this video and subscribe. And if you can, please consider supporting the channel directly, whether by becoming a sponsor or using the Super Thanks feature. It's your support that keeps the lights on and keeps this independent voice alive. And trust me, you need to hear the final segment today. It's the piece of the puzzle they don't want you to see. Let's start with what can only be described as a political earthquake in Brussels. You can almost feel the panic in the European Commission. Ursula von der Leyen has been dealt a heavy blow, and it came from where she least expected it. The European Parliament, usually a rubber-stamped body, suddenly woke up. In a surprise move, the majority voted to drag the controversial Mercosur free trade deal, that's the massive agreement with South American nations, straight to the European Court. They didn't just pause it. They effectively put it on ice indefinitely. To put it simply, the Parliament froze the deal. This torpedoes the grand plans of the European leadership. The initiative came from the left and the Greens, but here's the kicker. The right supported it too. Everyone has questions. They want the court to scrub this agreement clean. Naturally, the establishment is furious. German Chancellor candidate Friedrich Merz lashed out, calling the decision unfortunate and complaining that it ignores the geopolitical reality. But the reality is, Europe is fractured, and the grand plan has hit a wall. While the suits in Brussels fight over trade, something much darker was festering on the ground. Europol just wrapped up Operation Factory, and the details are absolutely staggering. This was the largest operation ever conducted against synthetic drug producers. We are talking about 24 massive laboratories dismantled. Think about that number. This wasn't a basement operation, this was industrial. The raids took place across Poland, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Investigators spent a year preparing for this, and the scale of what they found is shocking. Raw materials were flowing in from China and India, entering the EU through various borders, and then being shipped to Poland to be repacked and distributed to secret labs all over the continent. They arrested 85 suspects, including 2 ringleaders. But let's be real for a second. You don't run a multinational industrial operation like this without high-level protection. Someone, somewhere, was looking the other way. Who are the patrons? Why aren't their names being released? That silence speaks volumes. And if that doesn't unsettle you, look at what is happening in Germany. There is a new frightening report. People are disappearing. Nearly 1,000 migrants have vanished without a trace from refugee centers. Gone. And this is just in one federal state. Where are they? The authorities don't know, or maybe they don't want to say. With crime rates climbing, this is terrifying. But what's even worse is the cover-up. We only know about this because a security guard at a reception center had a conscience. He saw the data on the missing people and passed it to Parliament members. He tried to do the right thing. He showed humanity. And what was his reward? A medal? No. The authorities opened a criminal case against him and fired him. That is the state of affairs today. Expose a problem and you become the criminal. Speaking of safety, or the lack of it, we have to talk about another tragic incident in Germany. It brings me no joy to report this. Yesterday, in Duisburg, in broad daylight, a 21-year-old woman was subjected to a violent attack with a sharp object. She was rushed to the clinic, but the police have made no arrests. They aren't commenting on motives. They aren't giving descriptions. There is a growing trend where the services just stay silent. I'm sure you've noticed it too. It feels like there's a directive from above. Keep the public in the dark to prevent panic. But silence doesn't make us safer. On the international stage, Emmanuel Macron is having a terrible week. His initiative to host an emergency G7 summit in Paris has completely collapsed. It's embarrassing. President Donald Trump and German leader Friedrich Merz both flatly rejected the invitation. Merz, despite being a supposed ally, refused to go to Paris, choosing instead to fly straight to a generic EU summit after Davos. Macron was reportedly so upset by the snub and by his inability to secure a one-on-one meeting with Trump that he left the Davos forum early. He's isolated. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered a speech at Davos that stunned the room. He was brutal. He said the rules-based order that the West has preached for decades has collapsed, and the West just chose not to notice. He said, "We in the West lived in a lie. When the architects of the system start talking like that, you know the foundation is rotten. It's not just the political systems breaking down, the physical infrastructure is crumbling too." In Spain, the train drivers' union has announced a strike. They aren't asking for more money, they are asking for safety. This comes after a horrific tragedy in the town of Adamuz, where, as you may know, there was a significant loss of life. 40 people gone. The union is demanding criminal liability for those responsible for the safety of the network. They are saying enough is enough. And just to prove their point, another accident happened in Catalonia. A commuter train hit a retaining wall that had collapsed onto the tracks. 20 people injured. The workers are shouting that they won't drive until it's safe. It's a sign of the times. Everything is wearing out, and no one is taking responsibility. But let's get to the man who stole the show. Donald Trump's performance at Davos was something the world watched with bated breath. European leaders, used to polite, meaningless phrases, looked like they had swallowed lemons. Trump didn't hold back. He talked about Greenland. He called it a piece of ice. He said, "We want a piece of ice, and they won't give it to us." He stated plainly, they have a choice. Agree and we'll be grateful, or say no and we'll remember it. That isn't negotiation, that is a threat. He claims only the US can protect and develop Greenland. And here is the twist. He says he has already agreed on a framework with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and has cancelled tariffs for EU countries that support him on this. Divide and conquer. He went further. He criticized the entire modern Western economic model, government spending, mass migration, the green transition. He tore it all down, and then he looked them in the eye and called himself a dictator. He said, "I am a dictator, but sometimes you need a dictator." Just like that. Honest. Blunt. No blurred lines. You might hate it, you might love it, but you know exactly where he stands. Now, for the most critical piece of information I promised you. While Trump was making noise, a quiet revolution happened in the back rooms. Klaus Schwab, the face of the World Economic Forum, has been sidelined. He is no longer the main man. The new king of the hill at this forum was Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. If you don't know who he is, you need to pay attention. Fink is the man pushing for total digitization and stricter control over global financial flows. Schwab wanted a reset. Fink wants control of every penny. This signals a massive shift toward a world where your financial freedom is going to be tighter than ever. We are heading into grand changes, and they are happening right now under the guise of economic stability. So buckle up. They aren't going to let us get bored. The chess pieces are moving, and the game is getting aggressive. I want to know what you think. Is Trump serious about buying Greenland? And what does the rise of Larry Fink mean for your wallet? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, the most important thing despite all this chaos is to keep a clear head. I wish you peaceful skies and all the best. See you soon.